Sick. Hello, everybody. Welcome to What the Heck is UX/UI Design, a practical crash course. Um, let's get started. So, our itinerary for this workshop will be kind of as follows. Roughly, we'll go this direction. Firstly, we'll kind of talk about you know, who I am, who you are, or who can contribute. Then we'll kind of talk about a little bit like what is UX/UI design, what it is, kind of all that fun stuff. And next, kind of going beyond the definition of UX/UI, like what does that look like in practice? I'll quickly run you through like a story of one of my projects and walk you through a key decision that was made, powered by user experience. And finally, I'll walk you through kind of a few um, just really briefly talk you through a few UX exercises you can use to empower your projects for this weekend. And finally, open questions. Can I receive questions from like the the online viewers?
Yeah, we know.
Okay, sounds good. And so, if you have any questions, feel free to just enter them in the chat. Yeah. Okay. Cool. And so the goals of this workshop, by the end of it, my hope is that you can kind of get a better understanding of what user experience and user interface design means and how they function within teams. Also, feel inspired on how to kind of integrate these methods into your projects this weekend. And also, please note that this is an introductory workshop. So, if you already do know a lot about UX design, some parts may be repetitive. So as a start, I guess let me introduce myself. My name is LJ. Right now, I work at a company called Go Bolt as the senior product designer. And my journey into design was a little bit not as straightforward. So when I actually graduated high school, so kind of where you folks are today, I actually thought I was going to be something like an accountant or an economist. I kind of liked math and those courses in high school. I knew I wasn't going to go into science. So I actually enrolled into Wilfrid Laurier University, which is funny enough down the street from Waterloo, to major in economics and global studies. Along the way, I spent my summers at the CRA, the CBSA. I worked in tax audit, and then served as a border officer. Come grad, I'm like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And so I, by chance, stumbled into UX design, and I actually started my career actually also within hackathons. Um, and that's where I met a lot of my future coworkers and people that I ended up joining startups with. So after grad, I worked at a bunch of different companies. Went from kind of designing cryptocurrency, blockchain related things with a company called Hypotenuse, to designing kind of food tech experiences with Compass Digital, to ESG and data management at a company called FigBytes, and ultimately to get to where I am today at GoBolt. Each position and company I worked at kind of allowed me to collect more data about myself, what I liked and didn't like, and honestly wish I discovered design earlier. But hey, I mean, y'all got yeah, it's amazing that y'all got hackathons. Anyways, I want to take this time to learn about you, and I guess this is more so towards the people that are here. Um, Initially, I had sticky notes, so maybe this won't exactly work. Do I actually get? I have a quick question. So, can I get people to enter into the chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone wants to go up on the live stream then. If you have your laptops open, you can just head on to the Discord and just pop in questions there. Or just answer questions like this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just answer questions about them.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. Anyways, enough about me. What about y'all? How are you guys feeling right now? Like one word.
Excited.
Excited? A little tired? How much did you guys sleep last night? Jeez. Yo, you say 3, but you held up 4. Oh. Dang. Yeah, make sure you guys get some sleep. All right. We'll keep on going then. Um, my other question more so deals with like how much do you folks already know about UX UI design? Maybe like on a scale of a 1 to 5, 1 being nothing at all, maybe heard in passing, to like 5 being like super duper expert. Just send me at a Figma file. I got this. And obviously, there's no wrong answers at all. This is just for me to be aware of. You can like hold it up like 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1 being like, I don't know, I just heard about this, and 5 being like, I know all about this. Nice, nice. I see we got like a lot of I got a lot of diversity here in this crowd. Okay, thank you. So I will keep that in mind as I go through the workshop. And also feel free to either enter a question in the chat or raise your hand anytime you have a question. Sound good? Sick. All right. So jumping into it, I guess the first question is like, what is user experience or UX design? Okay. And at this point, does anyone wanna go for their definition? Yep. All right, great. So, in a nutshell, briefly speaking, user experience design is, as its name suggests, designing with your end user in mind. So this means coming up with solutions that make sense for a specific person, aka your user. And unlike with UI design, UX design outputs can be physical or digital, and they can be a product or a service. Oh,
So you don't have to scream as loud.
oh, I mean, I normally talk loud.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah.
Cool. How do I?
You can hold it if you want to.
Okay, cool. This is intimidating.
It's okay.
Can everyone hear me good? Okay. So one of the things with user experience design is I could show you kind of the example of like people designing the MRI for kids and making that experience less scary. But I think we can skip over that, and I'll show you later. So in terms of making sense, how do you figure out what makes sense for your specific user? How do you get to know the person that you're making this thing for? So this comes in terms of output. How do you communicate what you know about your user to other people making? This comes in the form of something like a customer journey map. This is how a user goes about the current problem that they're trying to solve. That's also where you determine maybe there's potential to have maybe your solution could fit in somewhere with their journey. Something that might not be part of their journey might be something intrusive and might be more difficult for your user to put into their routine, right? Something like a user persona. This is something you can use to communicate and store and use as a tool to leverage, you want to storytell. So one of the things in the judge's rubric is presentability. How are you going to tell me your idea in a way that like I can understand where you're trying to go? So one of the tools you can use is a persona. Who is this? What's he trying to do? And how is your product or product that you're trying to propose helping this guy or this girl or them figure out, like, do what they want to do essentially? And also part of UX is making the wireframes. If it is a digital output that you're making, sometimes it might not even be. In this case, as it is a hackathon, it will probably include a digital solution. So one of the things is UX covers this aspect of, hey, this is the ideal workflow. This is what makes sense as a user. It doesn't need to be perfect. This is just a rough kind of blueprint of what the website and navigation should be. Okay, and now we're moving towards what is user interface design. So user interface design focuses on the visual aspects of digital design, right? So when you're talking, one sec, when you're talking UI design, user interface still contributes to the overall user experience of a software. However, you can think about it like user experience is an umbrella that encompasses a lot more than user interface. You also have something like service design, which is beyond the scope of this current workshop. But just think of it as user interface is the pixel perfect output. So you're thinking buttons, you're thinking what does the colors look like? How do these components work together to create a sense of aesthetic and make it kind of visually aesthetic for a user to use? Because aesthetic is also a factor of usability. So, and again, like this is something I worked on years ago, but this is what I mean by what it focuses on. So this is a live design, and this is essentially what is sent off to developers, given kind of component rules and how it interacts on specific screens. So kind of also inherent within UX/UI design is the fact that we are dealing with humans. Humans are both irrational and emotional beings. So no matter how good things may be on the back end, for example, if I don't know, I'm Jeff Bezos and I have all this cool stuff in my warehouse. Now, the issue is if none of my customers can order anything from the website because it just takes too much time, or I can't find where to buy this thing, the customer is going to be like, okay, thanks. They don't understand the value and they won't understand what kind of service and what kind of solution you're trying to offer because it takes them too long to find. Cool. So what does this look like in companies? And I'll really quickly walk you through Food Ties, which is a project that I did long time ago. Not that long ago. Oh gosh. But really quickly, food. A few years ago, I joined a company called Compass Digital Labs for 4 months. And I inherited a project called Food Ties, which was a digital food waste recovery platform. So the idea was you would have, at the end of the day, you were a restaurant and you had food that was already prepackaged, wasn't touched, in the refrigerator. However, it wasn't sold and would be going bad during your closing hours. So what they wanted to do was to find a way to recover this item, and so that they could, instead of putting it into food waste, to actually divert it into charities that accepted these foods. And so this is where I want to specify that UX and UI are very different. So if you look at this very briefly, you can see that on one end, the past redesign and the updated design, which is what I ended up proposing to the company, looks kind of different. One is a little bit more, it's a little bit more marketplace, and you can see that it's very friendly. There's vector images of fruits, and even the logo is very big and very marketplacey. And so within the new proposed design, it was a little bit more toned back, very focused on just like what are the metrics, how are we getting things, and like getting the actions really quickly. And I'll walk you through why that ended up the way it did. So the key problem within this design was it took 30 to 90 seconds to add in one single food item for donation, right? So nested within this specific design is that it was a 5-step process in the past. If you see, there's multiple fields that need to be added up until you get into the thank you confirmation. So the reality of it is, someone like this guy here, we'll call him Dan. Dan has an average of 30 minutes between closing time and the time they go home. And the reality of it too is that they don't have they don't have that much time. 30 minutes is not a lot of time. And if you're taking 30 to 90 seconds per food item, on average, these people at these stages get about like 20, 50, like 20, 30 types of different food items. So that takes up a large portion of their time. And so we set out to redesign, and this was done through a series of iterations, testing with the individual users, and try to ideate like how might we go about this. And so with the proposed change, one of the highlights as well is that they wanted to see their metrics as soon as they log into the screen. And so that was added up top. And so, oh, yep, this is here. So as you can see, one of the things is the date of the donation, the status, and a easy way to kind of push to volunteers, which again, is different from the previous, which is a little bit more, what's the word for it? It's a little different, the use case. So in terms of results, I see one of my numbers didn't go through, but it resulted in an 80% reduction in setup time. So the amount of time it actually took to get a what's the word for it? To get a donation onto the platform actually decreased 80%. So we're talking quick maths. We're talking about 6 seconds, 6 seconds per item. And in terms of decrease in onboarding time, because the number of steps required lessened, it actually also decreased the onboarding time. And it actually got to test with a bunch of volunteers. Cool. So in terms of how like UX and UI played a part in that case study, one of the key things is while on the surface something may look functionally great, the reality is if you actually go on the field and actually talk to the specific users who will be using it, sometimes it may not be the optimal kind of UI for the specific users that you're looking at. Okay, so, and I think I'm just gonna check in with everybody. We're all good here. What's my time at?
Oh, it's 2:55.
Cool. 2:55.
I mean, it's 12:55.
Okay, cool. I actually was planning on kind of a more interactive work search here, but I realized that we are constrained by our online some of our online stuff. So I guess I'm gonna go into like the last part of the workshop, which is the application. So I've talked a little bit about UX UI design, and I want to highlight that. Can I talk about the judging? Yes? Yeah? Okay. So I will actually also be judging, acting as one of the judges tomorrow. So as judge, I looked at the rubric. There's 4 things that the judges are looking at. There's creativity, usefulness, presentation, and technical difficulty. So in terms of sample activities, so if we're looking at unblocking creativity, one of the things you can take a look at for ideation is something like a crazy eights activity. So you have a specific problem. I mean, you could, if you have a piece of paper and pen available, divide it into a piece of 8 and draw out all the possible solutions with a mindset that, this is just for brainstorming, and practicality right now is not what the goals of the activity. Another idea as well is if the issue is on if something is useful or if it is functional, then and you need to test something quickly and you want to verify if it actually makes sense with your user, I highly recommend something like role playing. So when you actually recruit someone for role playing, you give them a scenario like, hey, you are XYZ user, maybe you're Dan, the chef employee, and it's the end of the day, it's 3 p.m., and you have 30 minutes to fill in, this big donation order. feel free to walk through the platform and tell me how that goes. Right? So that's another way you can quickly test. And additionally, if one aspect as well, if you're finding that maybe which I've also gone through, as you're going through developing, your project, one aspect you might hit a roadblock where, hey, there's a specific technical roadblock that might not work. How might we go about, diverting our user flow? So what might help in that case as well is being able to also map out your user flow, from how a user starts in their initial state up until what their optimal state is, a happy path, and possible worst case scenarios, and planning for that. Right now, I will open the floor for questions if anyone has any. Otherwise, my email is below, as well as my LinkedIn, if anyone wants to add me as well. Oh, yep.
Is there any things that we should like pay attention to or avoid in terms of coloring or UI?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the resources that you can leverage is there's a website called, you can search up IOTA. So WCAG contrast checker. What you want to check going for is you got to make sure that the colors that you use are visible between each other, and that they're not painful to the eye. So if we're looking at like something like colors that look too similar to each other, will be a little bit more difficult to view. But yeah, just keep it. And if you're looking for like color combinations, then you can check out Adobe. Adobe has color palettes that you can leverage. There's also coolers, which you can just press space bar. Yeah, he knows. Yeah, if you ever are like need inspiration on colors, because I know deciding on colors is pretty tough. Mhm. Also, again, thank you to SlideGo and Flat Icon. If y'all need templates for your presentations, and don't have time, definitely recommend them. Just don't use mine, because then I'll see it. Okay, how do I end this? Do I just stop sharing?
Should be an end screen button. End broadcast.
I just see someone's message. I'm the lead UX designer for my school's app development team.
Alright.
Okay. Good luck.
Okay, yeah, just top right.
Okay, well, yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'm available on Discord, and I'm here for a few hours. So, see ya.